The PICC line in my arm needed dressing changes every 3 days. The visiting nurse came on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays to check it, flush it, and make sure infection wasn't setting in. The rest of the time, I managed it myself with the supplies in my medical bag: sterile gloves, gauze, tape, saline flushes, and the IV antibiotics I had to infuse twice daily. I was 26 and living in Mom's house because a routine appendectomy had gone wrong. Surgical site infection, then sepsis, then 6 weeks of IV antibiotic treatment at home. My apartment lease had ended during my hospital stay. I planned to find a new place after recovery, but Mom offered her spare room. She said it made sense while I was sick. That was a mistake. The medical supplies took up space in her bathroom. The visiting nurse disrupted her morning routine. The IV pump beeped at midnight and 6 in the morning when I had to do my infusions. I was tired, weak, unable to work full-time. My short-term disability payments covered my student loans and car insurance, but not much else. Mom started making comments after the first week. How much longer is this treatment? 4 more weeks, maybe 5, depending on my blood work. And the nurse has to come 3 times a week. The PICC line needs monitoring. If it gets infected, I'll end up back in the hospital. She sighed, that particular sigh that meant I was being difficult. I'm just saying, this is expensive. My water bill is up from all your showers. The electricity from that pump running. The nurse tracking through my house. The nurse is covered by insurance. So is the treatment. But I'm feeding you, housing you. My expenses have gone up. You're not contributing anything. I was too tired to argue. The infection had taken everything out of me. I spent most days sleeping, doing my infusions, and trying to eat enough to keep my strength up. 2 weeks later, Mom sat me down at the kitchen table. She had papers spread out in front of her. Bank statements, investment portfolios, spreadsheets. I need to talk to you about money. Okay. I've been tracking my expenses since you moved in. Between the extra food, utilities, and supplies you use, it's costing me about $400 a month. Mom, I can pay you something when my disability check comes. That's not the point. The point is you're draining my accounts. I have a retirement plan. I have investments. I have a specific budget, and you're throwing it all off. I stared at her. I have a PICC line in my arm. I'm fighting off a post-surgical infection that almost killed me, and you're worried about $400? $400 a month adds up. That's $4,800 a year. That's money that should be growing in my retirement account, earning compound interest. Do you know what $4,800 invested at a 7% annual return becomes over 10 years? I don't care. You should care. That's how wealth is built. That's how people secure their futures. Not by taking on burdens that drain resources. I'm your daughter, not a burden. Right now, financially, you are both. The words hit like a slap. I sat there with my PICC line taped to my arm, my medical bag on the chair beside me, weak from an infection that had nearly killed me, and my mother was calculating the opportunity cost of keeping me alive. 3 days later, she brought it up again. Have you thought about moving out? I'm still in treatment. I can barely walk to the bathroom without getting exhausted. There are recovery facilities, extended care places. Your insurance might cover it. You want to put me in a nursing home? I'm 26. I'm just saying you have options. You don't have to stay here. But I did have to stay there. I had nowhere else to go. My friends had small apartments with roommates. My dad was remarried in another state. I had no savings left after the hospital bills. I was trapped. The following week, Mom's complaints intensified. Every medical supply I used, every shower I took, every meal I ate, she tracked it all, calculated costs, and made spreadsheets showing how much I was draining from her accounts. You're being dramatic, I said after another lecture about utility costs. This is temporary. In 3 weeks, the PICC line comes out, and I can start looking for a job again. 3 weeks is a long time financially. That's another $1,200 of expenses. Do you know what I could do with $1,200? I could increase my investment in that tech stock I've been watching. I could max out my Roth IRA contribution for the month. I could be dead. Don't be dramatic. You're fine. You're recovering. You just need to be more considerate of the financial impact your presence has. The eviction came 2 weeks before my treatment was scheduled to end. Mom came into my room at 8 in the morning. I was still in bed, exhausted from a rough night. The infection was finally clearing, but recovery was slow. We need to talk. Can it wait? I feel terrible. No, it can't wait. I've made a decision. You need to move out. Today. I sat up, the room spinning slightly. What? This arrangement isn't working. You're draining my accounts. My stress levels are through the roof. My financial advisor said I need to cut unnecessary expenses. You're an unnecessary expense. I'm your daughter. You're a 26-year-old adult who needs to take responsibility for herself. I've provided housing for 2 months. That's generous. But I can't keep subsidizing your medical situation. You need to find somewhere else to go. I have a PICC line. I have 2 more weeks of antibiotics. I have a visiting nurse coming. You can redirect the nurse to wherever you end up. Take your medical bag and your supplies and figure it out. I need my space back. I need my routine back. I need to stop hemorrhaging money. You're throwing me out during medical treatment. I'm setting a boundary. There's a difference. She left the room, giving me until 4 o'clock that afternoon to pack and leave. I called everyone I knew. My friend Maria said I could crash on her couch for a few days until I figured something out. I packed my clothes, my medical supplies, my IV antibiotics that needed refrigeration, my infusion pump, everything I needed to survive the next 2 weeks. Mom watched me load my car. I struggled with the medical bag, my arms weak, the PICC line pulling uncomfortably. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed. You're draining my accounts. She snapped when I dropped the bag and had to catch my breath. You've been nothing but a financial burden. I drove to Maria's apartment and cried in her bathroom while doing my evening antibiotic infusion. But I survived. Maria let me stay on her couch for 2 weeks. The PICC line came out. The infection cleared. I found a new apartment, went back to work, rebuilt my life. And I remembered. I remembered every comment about utilities, every spreadsheet calculating my cost, every lecture about compound interest and opportunity cost. I remembered being called a drain, a burden, an unnecessary expense. I remembered struggling with my medical bag while she watched me leave. That was 7 years ago. 7 years of working hard, saving money, advancing in my career. I went from data analyst to senior analyst to analytics manager. I earned well, lived below my means, invested carefully. I bought a small house 3 years ago, then a rental property, then another. Real estate in my city was appreciating fast. I refinanced, pulled equity, bought more properties. By 33, I had 4 rental properties generating steady income. Mom and I maintained minimal contact, holiday phone calls, occasional emails. She talked about her investments constantly, the stocks she was buying, her portfolio performance, her growing retirement accounts. Then last fall, the market crashed. Not a big, catastrophic crash, a sector-specific one. Tech stocks plummeted. The company's mom had been heavily invested and lost 60, 70, even 80% of their value. Her portfolio, which she bragged about for years, evaporated. She'd been overleveraged, too concentrated in high-risk stocks. She borrowed against her home equity to invest more, thinking the market would keep climbing. When it crashed, she lost not just her gains but her principal. She lost everything. I heard about it from my aunt. Your mother's in trouble. She lost most of her money in the market. She's facing foreclosure on her house. She's been calling everyone in the family asking for loans. I didn't call her. She called me, left a voicemail. Hi, sweetheart, it's Mom. I need to talk to you about something important. Call me back. I deleted it. She called again the next day. It's Mom again. I really need to talk to you. It's urgent. Please call back. I deleted that one too. The voicemails kept coming, one every day, sometimes 2. Her voice grew more desperate each time. I need help with my mortgage payment. The bank is threatening foreclosure. I don't know who else to turn to. Please, I'm your mother. I need you. After 3 weeks of voicemails, she showed up at my house. I watched through the window as she parked in my driveway and walked up to my front door. She looked older, thinner, stress written across her face. I answered the door but didn't invite her in. Emma, thank God. I've been trying to reach you. I got your messages. Then why didn't you call back? I'm in trouble, real trouble. I lost everything in the market crash, tech stocks, everything. I'm 3 months behind on my mortgage. The bank is starting foreclosure proceedings. I need help. How much help? I need $8,000 to catch up on the mortgage. Then I need about 2,000 a month going forward until I can get back on my feet. My retirement accounts are gone. My savings are gone. I have nothing left. I stood in the doorway of the house I owned, looking at the mother who'd thrown me out during medical treatment because I was draining her accounts. You told me I was a financial burden. You calculated how much I cost you per day. You made spreadsheets about opportunity cost. You threw me out while I had a PICC line in my arm because I was costing you money. That was different. That was 7 years ago. This is now. I'm facing foreclosure. I could lose my home. I was facing a potentially fatal infection. You didn't care. I was stressed. I was worried about money. I made a mistake, but I'm your mother. You can't just abandon me. You abandoned me first. Emma, please. I'm desperate. I've asked everyone. No one will help me. You're my only option. I know you're doing well. Your aunt told me about your properties. You have money. Please, just enough to save my house. I thought about being 26, sick and weak, packing my medical supplies while she stood in the doorway calculating her losses. I thought about doing IV infusions on Maria's couch at midnight, trying not to wake her. I thought about every voicemail Mom had left, asking for money without once apologizing for what she'd done. No. What? No, I'm not going to help you. You let me lose my house. You let your own mother become homeless. You were willing to make me homeless while I was sick, while I had a medical device in my arm, while I was fighting off an infection, because it was costing you money. That was different. I was trying to protect my financial future. And now you have no financial future because you made bad investments. That's not my problem. Emma, please, I'm begging you. I'll pay you back. Once I get back on my feet, I'll pay back every penny. You couldn't even let me stay 2 weeks without making spreadsheets about how much I cost. Why would I give you thousands of dollars? Because I'm your mother. You were my mother 7 years ago, too. It didn't stop you from throwing me out during medical treatment. She started crying. I made a mistake. I was wrong. I should have supported you. I should have put you first. But I can't change the past. I can only ask for help now. And I can only remember the past. That's what guides my decision now. So you're going to let me lose everything? You let me struggle with a medical bag while you calculated opportunity costs. You called me a drain on your accounts while I was fighting off an infection. You prioritized compound interest over your daughter's health. Those were your choices. These are the consequences. Emma, please, I'll do anything. I'll apologize. I'll admit I was wrong. I was terrible to you. I was selfish and cruel, and I should have been there for you. Is that what you want to hear? Because it's true. I was wrong. Please, just help me. The apology was real. I could hear it in her voice, see it in her face. She meant it. But meaning it now didn't change what she'd done then. It didn't change the fear I felt being thrown out while sick. It didn't change the nights on Maria's couch wondering if the infection would come back. It didn't change the knowledge that my own mother had valued money over my life. I'm not giving you money, I said. But I'll give you information. There are emergency assistance programs through the county, food banks, housing assistance for seniors. You can apply for all of those. There are also debt counselors who work with people facing foreclosure. I'll send you some contacts. That's not enough. I need money now. Then you'll need to find it somewhere else. Emma, you're my daughter. You're supposed to help me. I was your daughter 7 years ago. You didn't help me. I closed the door. She stood on my porch for another 10 minutes, crying, begging. Then she left. The voicemails continued for another week. Then they stopped. My aunt told me Mom lost the house. She moved into a small apartment and got a part-time job at 61 because she had no retirement savings left. She was surviving, but barely. And I was fine with that. Because 7 years ago, she taught me that family wasn't about obligation. It was about choice. She'd chosen money over her daughter. Now, I was choosing my own peace over her financial crisis. She wanted me to understand opportunity cost, investment returns, financial priorities. I understood perfectly. I'd just learned that some things aren't worth investing in, and mothers who throw out their sick children are one of them. Hi there. I'm Janet, a French teacher, and I absolutely love my job. But lately, my life has felt more dramatic than a Moliere play. It all began when my brother, Peter, announced he was opening a French-inspired bistro. I was thrilled for him. Peter, that's fantastic, I exclaimed when he told me. A French bistro, oh la la. I can already taste the success. Peter just laughed, his eyes twinkling. Thanks, Pri. I'm nervous, but I can't wait. I jump at the chance to help. Count me in for anything you need. I could even teach your staff a little French. Imagine how charming they'd be, greeting everyone with a perfect bonjour. As I rattled off menu ideas and marketing tips, I noticed my husband, Nathan, sitting in his armchair, barely listening. Honey, isn't this exciting? I nudged him. Peter's living his dream. Nathan grunted, not looking up from his phone. Yeah, great. I felt a pang of disappointment. Nathan's real estate career had been struggling lately, and his mood had darkened as a result. Still, I pressed on. You know the area better than anyone, I suggested gently. Maybe you could help Peter find some local suppliers. He shrugged, muttering something about being too busy. I sighed but decided not to push further. In the following weeks, I was completely absorbed in helping Peter, spending hours perfecting the menu, right down to the last accent. Peter's pronunciation was improving, and as he read the dishes aloud, coq au vin, ratatouille, tarte tatin, I clapped. Your customers will feel like they've been transported to Paris. Peter beamed, pulling me into a hug. I couldn't do this without you, sis. But as Peter's opening day drew closer, Nathan became increasingly withdrawn. He came home late, barely spoke during dinner, and snapped over small things. One night, I decided to confront him. Nathan, what's going on? You've been so distant. He slammed his fork down. Nothing's going on. I'm fine. Is it about Peter's restaurant? I asked softly. You know your work is just as important. Oh, spare me the pep talk, he scoffed. Not everyone can be an overnight success like your precious brother. His words stung, but I held back. Honey, Peter's worked hard to get here, just like you have. Remember that big sale you made last month? You're incredible at what you do. Nathan's expression softened, but a storm still brewed behind his eyes. Little did I know it was about to become a full-blown hurricane. 2 days before the opening, I was in the kitchen, putting the finishing touches on a congratulatory card when Nathan stormed in. Janet, we need to talk, he said, his voice unnervingly calm. I looked up, forcing a smile. Sure, honey, what's up? We're not going to Peter's restaurant opening. I blinked, sure I'd misheard him. What? Why not? We have a prior engagement, he replied flatly. A prior engagement? I searched my memory. Nathan, we've known about Peter's opening for months. My college buddy's in town. We're having dinner with him and his wife. Something felt off. You never mentioned this before. Well, I'm mentioning it now. We're not going. End of discussion. I stood, my temper rising. No, Nathan, not end of discussion. What's really going on here? His facade cracked. What's going on is your brother's stupid restaurant is all you talk about. It's Peter this, Peter that. When was the last time you showed any interest in my career? That's not fair, I protested. I always support you. Support? He laughed bitterly. While I'm busting my ass trying to sell houses in this market, you're playing chef with your golden boy brother. I felt like I'd been slapped. Nathan, But he wasn't finished. You want the truth? There is no college buddy. I made it up because I can't stand watching Peter succeed while you're what? I pressed, my voice softening. While I'm a failure, he shouted, eyes glistening with unshed tears. Silence filled the kitchen, broken only by the ticking clock. I reached for him, but he jerked away. You're not a failure, I said quietly. Nathan, please, let's talk. He shook his head, his expression hardening. I'm done talking. Here's the deal, Janet. Either you skip Peter's opening and stay with me, or... My heart pounded. Or what? Or our marriage is over. The words hung in the air like a guillotine blade. I felt dizzy, my stomach churning. You can't be serious. Dead serious, Nathan replied coldly. It's time you chose, Janet, your brother or your husband. And with that, he stormed out, leaving me standing alone in the kitchen, my world suddenly too big and too empty. I sank into a chair, my mind spinning. How had things come to this? I needed to talk to someone who could offer an outside perspective, so I grabbed my phone and called my best friend from college, Olivia. Liv, can you meet me at Joe's Diner in 20 minutes? It's an emergency. Half an hour later, I was pouring my heart out to Olivia over lukewarm coffee and an untouched slice of apple pie. And now he's given me this ultimatum. I finished, wiping away a stray tear. What am I supposed to do? Olivia reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry you're going through this. But can I be brutally honest with you? I nodded, bracing myself. Nathan's behavior is toxic. He's manipulating you, trying to isolate you from your family. That's not love, Janet. That's control. Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. Deep down, I knew she was right, but hearing it said aloud made it real. But our marriage, I whispered. Olivia shook her head firmly. A healthy marriage doesn't come with ultimatums, Janet. You need to go to that opening, support your brother, and stand up for yourself. As I left the diner, Olivia's words echoed in my mind. I knew what I had to do, though the thought of confronting Nathan filled me with dread. Still, for the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of strength. Whatever happened next, I wouldn't let anyone dim my light, not even my husband. Back at home, I stood in front of the mirror, smoothing down my dress. My stomach fluttered with nerves, but I squared my shoulders. I was going to Peter's opening, come hell or high water. Nathan, I called, my voice steadier than I felt. I'm leaving for the restaurant. A silence followed, broken only by heavy footsteps. Nathan appeared in the doorway, his face a mask of fury. So that's it. You're choosing him over me. I took a deep breath. I'm choosing to support my brother on one of the biggest nights of his life. That doesn't mean I'm not choosing you too. Nathan scoffed. Save it, Janet. You've made your choice. He grabbed his keys and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I flinched, but I steadied myself. There was no turning back now. At the restaurant, the atmosphere was electric. Peter's dream had come to life in rich shades of deep blue and warm gold. I forced a smile, determined not to let my personal drama cast a shadow over his moment. Janet, Peter called, waving me over. You made it. I hugged him tightly. Wouldn't miss it for the world, little brother. As I mingled with the guests, I noticed Peter's business partner, Ethan, acting strangely. His eyes darted around, and he kept checking his phone. Curiosity piqued, I moved a bit closer to where he stood near the kitchen. Transfer the funds tonight. I overheard him whisper harshly into his phone. Before that idiot Peter realizes what's happening. My blood ran cold. Embezzlement on opening night? I had to warn Peter, but I couldn't cause a scene. Not yet. For the rest of the evening, I kept a smile plastered on my face, laughing with guests and praising the food, though inside I was a mess of worry. My mind raced between Peter's business, Nathan's ultimatum, and the state of my marriage. Peter caught my eye from across the room, his brow furrowed in concern. He walked over and placed a hand on my arm. Hey, you okay? You seem, I don't know, distracted. I forced a bright smile. Me? I'm fine, just taking it all in. This place is amazing, Peter. I'm so proud of you. He didn't look entirely convinced, but he nodded. Thanks, sis. I couldn't have done it without you. Guilt gnawed at me. I was just about to tell him everything about Ethan when the restaurant doors suddenly burst open. Where is she? A familiar slurred voice bellowed. Where's my wife? My heart sank as Nathan stumbled in, clearly drunk, his tie askew and his eyes wild. Janet, he shouted, spotting me. There you are, you traitor. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd as I felt my face flush with humiliation. Nathan, I hissed, rushing over to him. What are you doing? You're drunk. He laughed bitterly. Oh, now you care. Didn't seem like you cared much when you abandoned me for this fancy bistro. Peter appeared at my side, his expression thunderous. That's enough, Nathan. You need to leave. Now. Nathan sneered. Or what, pretty boy? You gonna make me? Before I could blink, Peter had Nathan by the arm, steering him forcefully toward the exit. Get your hands off me, Nathan yelled, struggling against Peter. As Peter called over his shoulder, I've got this, stay here. I stood frozen, watching in mortification as he practically dragged Nathan out of the restaurant. The silence that followed was suffocating. Moments later, Ethan sidled up beside me, a look of fox concern on his face. My goodness, what a scene. Are you all right, Janet? I turned to him, my embarrassment giving way to a simmering anger. Part of me wanted to confront him about the embezzlement right then and there, but I knew I needed proof first. I'm fine, I said coolly, brushing him off. Nothing a glass of wine won't fix. I grabbed a flute of champagne from a passing waiter and caught sight of my reflection in a nearby mirror. My carefully applied makeup was smudged, my hair a little disheveled, but beneath it all, I saw something I hadn't seen in a long time. Determination. This night was far from over, and I had a feeling that Nathan's drunken display would be the least of my problems by morning. When I returned home, exhausted from the night's chaos, I found our apartment in shambles. Furniture was overturned, pictures smashed, clothes thrown everywhere. Nathan's handiwork, no doubt. That was it. I muttered under my breath, grabbing a suitcase. I'm done. As I packed, my phone rang. It was Peter. Prith, we need to talk. It's about Ethan. I told him everything I'd overheard, and Peter was stunned but grateful. You saved the restaurant, sis. Listen, I need someone I can trust. How would you feel about becoming our events coordinator? I accepted on the spot, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. In the weeks that followed, I threw myself into my new role, balancing it with my teaching. Then came news that Nathan's real estate license had been suspended for unethical practices. A twisted sense of vindication washed over me, but I pushed it aside. I had my own life to focus on now. Months passed. The restaurant thrived, and so did I. I was organizing events, teaching French, and rediscovering myself. Then, one day, Nathan showed up at the restaurant, looking more remorseful than I'd ever seen him. Janet, please, he pleaded. I've changed. Give me another chance. I looked at him, really looked at him, and felt nothing. No, Nathan. We're done. I've moved on, and you should too. As he walked away, I realized how far I'd come. I was surrounded by people who valued and supported me, and I finally found the strength to protect my own light. A year after that fateful opening night, I stood in the bustling restaurant surveying the charity gala I'd organized. Peter appeared at my side, grinning. You've outdone yourself, Janet. This place wouldn't be the same without you. I smiled, feeling a surge of pride. Thanks, little brother. We make a good team. As I mingled with guests, I reflected on my journey from a woman torn between toxic loyalty and self-respect to a confident, successful professional living life on her own terms. The road hadn't been easy, but standing there in the warmth of the restaurant, surrounded by good people, I knew one thing for certain. I wouldn't change a single step of the path that led me here. The story has come to an end, but now I have a question for you. If you were in Janet's shoes, would you have given Nathan a second chance after his outbursts at the restaurant opening? Or do you believe that some betrayals are too deep to forgive, even in a marriage? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hi, I'm Jennifer, and while my career as a business consultant keeps me busy, my true pride is my family, my foster kids, whom I'm in the process of adopting. Are you sure about this, Jennifer? Foster kids come with so much baggage. My brother David remarked when I started the process 5 years ago. I still remember his condescending smile across the dinner table. Not everyone needs a biological connection to love their children. David, I shot back, already tired of his judgment. That was the beginning of my journey with Emily and Kevin. Emily was a quiet 11-year-old who loved reading medical encyclopedias, while 9-year-old Kevin could already code better than most adults I knew. They had been through 4 homes before me, but I wanted them to feel secure. Miss Jennifer, are we really staying? Emily asked that first night, clutching her worn backpack. As long as you want to, sweetheart. This is your home now. My best friend, Rachel, has been my rock through everything. Girl, you're more of a natural mother than half the PTA moms, she told me last week while helping Emily with her science project. These little moments, Kevin bursting into my home office to show me his coding competition trophy, Emily telling me about her latest science project, make all the extra consulting jobs worth it. Every extra dollar I earn goes into their college funds. That's amazing, buddy. Harvard better watch out, I told Kevin, seeing his eyes light up. Then there's my brother David and his wife, Sandra, with their perfect biological children and massive house. Oh, how charitable of you. Sandra says at every family event, like my choice to foster is some quaint, disposable hobby. At our last barbecue, I overheard her whisper to another mom. They're not really family, it's more like long-term babysitting. My parents try to be supportive, but David always seems to have their ear. We just worry about your future, Mom told me yesterday. Real children might still be possible. I took a deep breath. They are real children, Mom. They're my children. I'm pouring everything into giving Emily and Kevin the life they deserve. Emily dreams of becoming a doctor, and Kevin talks about studying computer engineering. My babies are going places, and no one, not David, not Sandra, no one is going to stand in their way. One night, Emily hugged me after I helped her with her biology homework. "You're the best thing that ever happened to us," she whispered. I held her tight, thinking of all the nights I prayed for a family. I never knew I could love this fiercely, but here we are, my perfect chosen family. But lately, David's been acting strange whenever the topic of money or inheritance comes up. And I have a bad feeling. At our last family dinner, I was telling Mom about Emily's perfect essay scores when David cleared his throat, giving me a smug smile. "You know, it's cute how you're playing house with these temporary kids, but let's be real, they're not actually going to inherit anything, right?" The table went silent. Emily's fork clattered against her plate. "What did you just say about my children?" I asked, barely containing my anger. "Oh, come on, Jennifer. They're foster kids. You're just their current guardian. Mom, Dad, you can't seriously be thinking of putting them in the will." I watched Kevin's face crumble as Sandra smirked behind her wine glass. "Actually, David, I'm in the final stages of adopting them both," I said firmly. "Those college funds you're setting up are a waste of money," David sneered. "They'll probably drop out anyway. Statistics, you know." Emily ran from the table, and Kevin followed, tears in his eyes. Later that week, I heard Sandra at school pick up, mocking me again. Poor Jennifer, so desperate for a family she'll take in anyone's leftovers. I was about to confront her when my phone rang. It was Rachel. "Jennifer, you need to hear this. David's been at the country club, telling everyone how unstable your kids are and making up stories about their pasts." My stomach sank, but nothing prepared me for what came next. Michael, a colleague, called. "Jennifer, David was asking about your accounts at the bank today, specifically the kids' college funds. He seemed really interested in how they're structured." That night, Emily came to me. "Mom, I heard Uncle David on the phone in the garden. He was talking to a lawyer about contesting inheritance rights for adopted children." I hugged her tight. "Baby, no one is taking anything from you." The final straw came during a family meeting about our parents' estate. David brought his lawyer along. "These foster arrangements are temporary by nature," the lawyer droned. "It would be unwise to include non-family members in any permanent financial plans." "They're not temporary," I snapped, slamming my hand on the table. "And I'm more family than you'll ever be." David sneered. "Face reality, Jennifer. You're not their real mother. You never will be." That night, as I tucked Kevin into bed, as Kevin's small voice trembled, he asked, "Are we temporary, Mom?" I pulled him close and called Emily into the room. "Listen to me, both of you. Family isn't about blood. It's about love. You are my children forever, and no one can change that." But as I lay awake that night, a gnawing unease crept in. David's sudden interest in the college funds, his obsession with the inheritance. Something wasn't right. I had to find out what was really going on, even if it meant exposing my own brother. What I didn't realize was that David had secrets, big ones, and they were about to unravel. The first piece fell into place when Michael pulled me aside at work. "Remember how interested David was in those college funds? I did some digging, and he's in serious trouble. Hundreds of thousands in gambling debt, Jennifer." My hands shook as I scanned the documents he'd found. David, the golden boy, was drowning. And the worst part? "Your parents' retirement accounts look suspicious too," Michael pointed out. Large withdrawals, all traced to David's accounts. My stomach churned. David was stealing from our parents. Later that week, I had a surprise visitor. Maria, Emily, and Kevin's biological aunt. "I heard what your brother's been saying about the kids. It's not right," she said. "I signed away my rights because I knew they'd have a better life with you. I want to help." Over coffee, Maria shared more. "Sandra approached me last month, offered me money to contest the adoption. Said it would be better for everyone." My phone buzzed. It was Rachel. "You won't believe this, Jennifer. Sandra's running a real estate scam, taking deposits for properties she doesn't even own." I recorded everything, building my case, but the next bombshell hit closer to home. Emily came home one day, tears streaming down her face. Uncle David told Grandma and Grandpa that Kevin and I are stealing from them. He said that's why money keeps disappearing from their accounts. I held her close. "Baby, I promise you, the truth will come out." That night, David showed up drunk at my house. Just give me access to those college funds, Jennifer. I can double the money in a week, triple it even. I pressed record on my phone. Like you doubled mom and dad's retirement money? I asked. He sneered. Those old fools don't need it anyway. And those brats of yours don't deserve it. Yeah, I took their money, all of it, and there's nothing you can do about it. Get out of my house. As he stumbled away, I called Michael. I got it all on record. But Sandra wasn't done. She cornered me at the grocery store. Listen here, charity case. Those kids will never be real Mitchells. Back off from the inheritance or I'll make sure everyone knows about their troubled past. Oh, you mean like your fake real estate deals, Sandra? Her face drained of color. That evening, Maria called. Jennifer, I've kept records of every conversation with Sandra, every bribe offer, every threat. I'm ready to go public. That night, I sat with Emily and Kevin. Remember when you asked if you were temporary? Well, I have proof now of who's really temporary in this family. And it's not you two. Kevin hugged me tight. We knew you'd protect us, Mom. As I watched them do their homework, my phone lit up with a message from Michael. The company board wanted a meeting about David's activities. Sandra's real estate victims were organizing. The house of cards was finally about to fall, and this time, I wasn't going to stop it. I looked at the adoption papers on my desk, nearly complete. Let them try to fight this. I had truth on my side, and karma was finally coming to collect. Everything exploded on a Tuesday. David was in a board meeting when the anonymous evidence landed in every director's inbox. According to Michael, who was there, David's face went from red to ghostly white in seconds. Get out of this building, David. Security will escort you. The CEO's voice echoed down the hall. By Wednesday, Sandra's real estate scam hit the local news, her face plastered everywhere as victims came forward. That evening, my parents arrived at my door, devastated. Jennifer, we found out about the retirement accounts. All these years, David was, my mom trailed off, horrified. And those college funds he wanted? They're now double, thanks to your grandparents. I told my kids that night that our adoption hearing was scheduled for Friday. David and Sandra made one last desperate attempt in court. Your Honor, these children have a biological aunt who, David began. But Maria stepped forward, undeterred. I fully support Jennifer as their mother, and I have documentation of their attempts to bribe me right here. The judge brought down the gavel. Congratulations, Miss Mitchell. They are officially your children. Fast forward 5 years, and I'm watching Emily pack for medical school. She got a full ride to Johns Hopkins. Harvard's computer science department is already recruiting Kevin for when he graduates next year. Hey Mom, guess who's working at Target now? Kevin showed me his phone, where a very tired-looking David was wearing a red vest and stocking shelves. And Sandra's doing midnight shifts at Walmart in Arizona. Emily added with a smirk. Guess karma doesn't take credit cards. My parents moved closer to us after everything, and now they've never been closer to their grandchildren. We were so blind, Mom said one Sunday dinner. But look at what you've built, Jennifer, a real family. Rachel raised her glass. To the best mom I know, who showed us all what family truly means. Michael, now more than just a colleague, squeezed my hand under the table. Last week, I received a letter from David, a rambling apology claiming he changed and missed his family. I didn't even open it, just as I ignored Sandra's letters begging for money to avoid bankruptcy. Some bridges are better left burned. Mom, Emily called from the kitchen. We're making your favorite lasagna. As I watched my kids laughing and cooking, tossing cheese at each other, I thought about how sometimes the worst betrayals lead us to our best lives. David and Sandra thought they could tear us apart, but they only made us stronger. Kevin hugged me from behind. Thanks for fighting for us, Mom. Always, baby, always. And that's how my story of justice ends, not with revenge, but with success. My kids are thriving, our family is closer than ever, and those who tried to hurt us? Well, karma has its own way of handling that. What would you do if a family member tried to steal your children's future? Could you forgive them, or are some betrayals simply unforgivable? Share your thoughts below. Hi everyone, I'm Sandra. Funny how it all started with a bowl of soup laced with sleeping pills. You're totally going to crush this presentation, Jason, cheered my half-sister Margaret, her words still echoing in my mind. How blind I'd been to her fake support all these years. But let me backtrack and tell you how everything went down. At 28, I was living what seemed like the perfect life. My tech startup, SecureSpend, was poised to revolutionize mobile banking security. Imagine an app that could stop fraud before it even happened. That's what my best friend and business partner, Marcus, and I had created after 3 relentless years of work. Sandra, these investor numbers are insane. We're looking at a potential series of funding of $50 million. Marcus exclaimed, practically bouncing off the walls of our downtown office that morning. I know, right? Hard to believe all this started in my garage with just us and a few energy drinks, I replied, smiling at the memory of our humble beginnings. While my professional life was soaring, my family dynamics were a different story. Margaret would show up at every family gathering with her sugary sweet demeanor that only I seemed to see through. Oh, Sandra got the idea for her app from my suggestions about online banking, she casually boasted to our relatives, while I sat there seething but silent, trying to keep the peace. And then there was Jason, Margaret's husband, who just so happened to work for ByteSecure, our biggest competitor. Such a small world in tech, isn't it? He'd say with that smirk that never quite reached his eyes. As the excitement built for our upcoming launch event, investors from Silicon Valley were flying in, and venture capitalists were practically fighting for invites. Margaret insisted on being involved in the preparations. Let me help you get ready. You're going to need all the support you can get, she offered, touching my arm like the caring big sister she pretended to be. Little did I know that her support would turn my world upside down. The night before the investor presentation, Margaret called. Maybe I should come over tonight. Mom's soup recipe always calmed your nerves before big events, she suggested, her voice dripping with concern. That would be great, I agreed, completely unaware that this simple bowl of soup would mark the beginning of my nightmare. At exactly 7:00 p.m., the doorbell rang. Margaret stood there, holding a steaming container. I made it just like Mom used to. It'll help calm those pre-presentation jitters, she said, her smile so genuine it almost made me forget how uneasy she made me feel. But something felt off as she kept watching me eat. Is there something on my face? I joked, trying to shake off the weird tension. No, just making sure my baby sister enjoys every last drop. Mom would have wanted that, she replied, eyes glinting. 20 minutes later, the room started to spin. My arms felt like lead, and my vision blurred. Margaret, I don't feel so good, I managed to whisper. Just nerves, sweetie. Why don't you lie down for a bit? I'll wake you up in plenty of time for your big day, she cooed. That was the last thing I remembered before everything went black. I woke up to sunlight streaming through my windows, my head foggy and heavy. I grabbed my phone, 11:45 a.m. My heart dropped. The investor presentation was at 9:00 a.m. sharp. 17 missed calls from Marcus, 28 texts, 1 email from our biggest potential investor. Due to your unexplained absence, we are withdrawing our interest in SecureSpend. Panicking, I called Marcus. What happened? I asked, my voice barely steady. Just get to the office now, he replied, his tone grim. I rushed in, still wearing yesterday's clothes, to find Marcus staring at his computer screen. Before you say anything, watch this, he said, pulling up security footage from my apartment's hallway cameras. He'd installed them last month after a break-in attempt at our office. The footage showed Margaret leaving my apartment, phone pressed to her ear. It's done. She'll be out cold until at least noon. Tell Jason the coast is clear for the ByteSecure presentation, she whispered into the phone. My blood ran cold as Marcus pulled up another video from a hidden camera he'd secretly installed in my kitchen. It showed Margaret carefully emptying a vial into the soup, her eyes darting nervously. I didn't say anything earlier because I needed proof of something bigger, Marcus explained. Your sister and Jason, they've been planning this for months. I watched in stunned silence as more footage played. Margaret sneaking into our office, photographing confidential documents, Jason meeting her in shadow parking lots, exchanging flash drives. They've been stealing our tech bit by bit. ByteSecure's new app? It's ours. They're launching it next week. My whole body went cold. My own sister? That's not all. Marcus hesitated. Remember when those early investors suddenly pulled out last year? I met one of them by chance, and he told me Margaret convinced them you were unstable, that you'd had mental breakdowns. I thought back to all those family dinners, the sisterly advice, the supposed support. Every memory was now tainted with betrayal. My phone buzzed with a new message from Margaret. I heard what happened. Are you okay? Can't believe you slept through the presentation. I stared at her words, rage building inside me. This wasn't just about sleeping pills or a missed presentation. This was years of calculated betrayal. Marcus, I said, my voice turning to steel, get me everything you have. Every piece of evidence. It's time my dear sister learned what real sisterly love looks like. I was done playing nice. The game she started, I was about to finish it. For the next 48 hours, Marcus and I turned our office into a war room. Screens flashed with surveillance footage, email threads, and financial records. Look at this email from 2 years ago, Marcus pointed to his monitor. Margaret told Investex's board you had a mental breakdown in college. That's why they pulled their $2 million offer. Right after that, Jason joined ByteSecure. It all made sense now. ByteSecure had suddenly started developing features suspiciously similar to our early prototypes right after that incident. A knock on the door made us both jump. It was Deanna Martinez, one of the investors who had walked away. I came to give you a chance to explain your absence yesterday, she said, then noticed the investigation board we'd set up. What's all this? Taking a deep breath, I laid everything out for her. Margaret's sabotage, Jason's corporate espionage, the stolen technology. Diana's eyes widened as she processed the evidence. There's something else you should know, she said, pulling out her phone. I've been receiving anonymous emails warning me against investing in secure spend. They called you unstable and hinted at family concerns. The sender was careful, but I bet the IP address traces back to ByteSecure. Marcus was already typing. Bingo. But here's the kicker. I dug into ByteSecure's finances. Their recent funding round? The numbers don't add up. We spent the next few hours tracing a tangled web of falsified user data and cooked books. ByteSecure's impressive growth was nothing but a house of cards. Margaret and Jason hadn't just stolen our technology. They'd built their empire on lies. Wait, I said, scanning their records. These names, Angela Chen, Michael Roberts, Jessica Torres. They're all former colleagues of Margaret's who suddenly vanished from the industry. More digging revealed a disturbing pattern. Every time Margaret felt threatened by someone's success, they mysteriously faced personal or professional disasters. Angela's promising career ended after sudden health issues. Michael lost his biggest clients after anonymous complaints about his behavior. Your sister's been sabotaging people for years, Marcus shook his head. You're just her latest target. As if on cue, my phone lit up with another text from Margaret. Sis, I'm worried about you. Maybe the pressure of the startup is too much. We should talk. The same fake concern she'd likely shown all her other victims. But this time, she picked the wrong target. I have an idea. Diana leaned in. ByteSecure's launch event is next week. They're about to unveil their revolutionary security features. Our features. What if we set a trap? Marcus's eyes gleamed. I've already started collecting their fraudulent financial records. One anonymous tip to the right authorities. No, I interrupted. We need to be smarter. Margaret survived this long by making her victims look unstable. We need to let her walk right into her own trap. I pulled up the details for ByteSecure's launch event. Margaret and Jason had spent months weaving their web of lies. Now it was time for them to get tangled in it. Diana, I asked, how would you like to play a starring role in ByteSecure's most memorable presentation ever? Over the next hour, we crafted a plan so elegantly simple that Margaret would never see it coming. She thought she destroyed her little sister's dreams. But what she didn't realize was that she just handed me everything. Here's a refined version of your story segment, capturing the climactic takedown and emotional fallout with more polish and dramatic tension. I needed to destroy her carefully constructed facade. Game on, sis. ByteSecure's launch event was packed with investors, media, and tech industry leaders. I sat in the back, watching Margaret and Jason take the stage, proudly showcasing their stolen technology. Our revolutionary security features will change mobile banking forever, Jason announced with that smug grin. But then, right on cue, Diana stood up from the audience. Excuse me, just one question, she called out, her voice cutting through the applause. Could you explain how these features differ from SecureSpend's original code filed for patent protection 6 months ago? The room went dead silent. Margaret's face drained of color, eyes darting nervously. I have copies of SecureSpend's original documentation right here. Diana continued, holding up a folder, along with evidence of corporate espionage, fraudulent investment reports, and years of systematic sabotage. The doors at the back of the room burst open as SEC agents we tipped off entered. Jason tried to make a break for it, but he didn't get far, tackled just steps away from the exit. In the chaos that erupted, Margaret rushed toward me. Sandra, please, I can explain everything. You mean how you tried to destroy me? Just like you did with Angela Chen, Michael Roberts, and all the others. Angela herself stood up from the audience. Remember me, Margaret? The unstable project manager you ruined. One by one, more people stood up. Margaret's past victims, all armed with evidence of her manipulations. The room filled with voices of those she betrayed, finally ready to expose her. Margaret grabbed my arm, tears streaming down her face. Sandra, we're family. Family forgives, right? I looked her in the eyes, my voice steady. Family doesn't drug each other. Family doesn't steal and lie. You're not my family, Margaret. You're just another toxic person I'm cutting out of my life. I pulled away, leaving her to face the consequences she so richly deserved. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. ByteSecure's stock plummeted as investigations exposed years of fraud. Jason faced criminal charges, while Margaret's professional reputation was shattered. Victim after victim came forward, turning her name into a cautionary tale. Meanwhile, SecureSpend soared. Our original investors returned, offering even larger deals than before. Diana joined our board, bringing years of expertise and genuine support. One morning, 6 months later, Marcus mentioned casually, "Your sister's been trying to reach you again." We were in our new office, 30 floors up with a panoramic view of the city. I glanced at my phone to see another desperate message from Margaret, begging for a second chance, claiming she changed, that she missed her sister. Block contact. Delete number. Remove from life. Marcus looked at me with concern. You okay? I smiled, turning back to our latest project. Better than okay. Now, about that expansion into European markets. Because here's the thing, some people think revenge is about destroying others, but the best revenge is success, growth, and knowing that the toxic people who tried to tear you down have to watch you soar. They're trapped in the rock bottom they created for themselves. That's not just revenge, that's justice. What would you do if you discovered your own sibling had been secretly sabotaging your life for years? Would you expose them publicly, like I did, or handle it privately? And could you ever consider forgiveness?